Jesus called his 12 disciples to him and gave them authority to drive out evil spirits and to heal every disease and sickness.
The Bible contains remarkable stories of miracles and divine interventions. Moses parted the sea. Peter healed a man lame from his mother's womb. Jesus drove demons out of people and raised others from the dead. But are these types of events still happening today?
We too have a beam of divine light and guidance that God has put within the heart of every man. And it's one of the greatest proofs that there is a God.
More amazing supernatural things are happening than we realize.
This is Divine Intervention, the interview show that features intriguing people who've experienced the hand of God in amazing ways. Divine Intervention was created and produced with the purpose of encouraging believers, spiritual seekers, and skeptics alike that Jesus is alive and is still performing miracles and working in the world today.
I believe in miracles.
Here's your host, Daniel Fazina.
Hello, friend, and welcome to another exciting episode of Divine Intervention Radio. Yes, I am your host, Daniel Fazina. Got a wonderful show lined up for you today with a really powerful testimony. I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from this guest. Before we get to our special guest, I want to remind you that you can connect with me on Facebook, facebook.com/Divine Intervention Radio, and you can also find me on Twitter. You can follow me at Daniel Fazina1. At Daniel Fazina numeral 1. And of course, if you miss any of the shows, the archives are available at divineinterventionradio.com. And you can also pick up a copy of my new book, Divine Intervention 50 True Stories of God's Miracles Today. I hope the book encourages you. If you're a believer, I think it's really going to bolster your faith. And if you're a skeptic, I think it's really going to challenge you. Today on this show, we're going to be focusing on Islam. I have a very interesting and intriguing guest with us today, Mr. Zachariah Anani. Now, Mr. Anani is an ex-Muslim militia fighter, and he's now a Christian who puts his life on the line daily for Jesus. Zach's testimony reveals the amazing grace and the power of Jesus Christ to transform a man's heart and life from one beyond feeling to one radically in love with Jesus. And it's my privilege to welcome Zach on Divine Intervention to share his amazing testimony about how God got a hold of his life. Zach, welcome to Divine Intervention. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, you've had quite an interesting life and a childhood growing up that most Americans would not be able to relate to. But why don't you take us to the beginning and tell us about, your childhood growing up and just, what your life was like.
First of all, let's go to the family name itself because it will give you an idea about the cultural uprising of a child. The family, the Ananis, are very well-known family in 3 different countries, in Lebanon, Jordan, and in Egypt. And the Ananis used to be, still is, a very noble family. In the beginning, they were horsemen leaders, or clergy leaders. Okay. So they never paid tax, for instance, in the Islamic Empire's time. And it is kind of a pride for them that they carry the torch of imams and holy men who leads the nations spiritually.
So for anyone who's not familiar with it, an imam would be like a Muslim cleric or priest?
Yeah, an imam is like an archbishop, for instance, in your clergy. So I come from a line of clergy. My great-grandfather was an imam in Beirut. My grandfather was an imam in Beirut. And this is one of the reasons why the family wanted me to come to carry on, because my father skipped the road.
Okay.
He was an alcoholic and a womanizer, which prevent him from being an imam.
Okay.
So to them, it was very solid idea that the line shouldn't be cut, at least in the branch of our Anani.
Okay.
And since we had, generations backwards, imams, so the family really wanted a continuity for that. And they chose me because I'm the eldest.
Okay.
I'm the firstborn.
And you started your religious training at the age of 3, right?
So by the age 3, that's normal in the Middle East, especially for people who wants to be in the spiritual or religious arena. So by the age 3, I was sent to an Islamic school. And there they will, mimically teach you how to repeat the Quran, how to start praying. they don't enforce it in you very harshly till you are about maybe 6 or 7.
Okay.
But they starts you since you are 3. So it will engrave in you and never leave.
Right. Well, similar, I guess, whatever you're taught with, you lay that foundation. You grow up with that. And that's what, the basis of your life is. So,
right.
So you're growing up, you're in Islamic school, and what's going on then?
All right. Between age 3 and age 13, become some kind of, a registered tape who knows the Quran a little bit. He knows how to pray. He knows all the necessary stuff for a guy in my age. But by then, God had blessed me with a full body. Believe it or not, I was about 180 pounds of muscles, sheer muscles.
At age 16?
At age 16. At age 13, I still had a big body according to my age.
Right.
And I was very much rebellious. I mean, I didn't want school. I didn't want, like many of the young people my age.
Sure.
And by that time, what happened is the Palestinians were marching through our streets. That's in the early 70s. And I wanted to be that holy warrior. I mean, they amazed me with their weaponry and their marchings and all of that. And I wanted to be that holy warrior who will reach one day to heaven, knock on the doors of heaven with the skulls of my enemies, throw them at the throne God's feet and say, here's my gift to you. Now let me go into your heaven.
Now, is this part of Islamic theology?
Yes. You see, in Islam, they always say that it is the religion of book and a sword.
Okay.
That means you are a warrior since you are 13, because 13 you are a man.
Okay.
And you are trained either to be some kind of a teacher in a religious arena or a warrior in a war arena. So I was amazed, as I said, with those warriors marching through our streets, and I wanted to be one of them, especially if I'm going to serve my Allah with it. So that's what I did. I went and joined regiment, fighting regiment.
Now, can you set the stage a little bit of the political arena? What's going on in Lebanon at this time?
By that time, the Palestinians had came to Lebanon, and they tried to make their own, like they did in Jordan, their own land.
Okay.
But they were not strong enough. The Lebanese army hit them hard and pushed them back to their camps, even with Air Force. They knew that they are not as strong as to face the Lebanese army alone by that time. So what they did, they went on creating those small, especially in the poverty areas, the small fragments. Some of them are political fragments. Majorly, they were religious fragments.
Okay.
And what helped them a lot is the structure of Islam itself. In Islam, the structure is political and religious in the same time. Each school, if I want to use the word school in Islam, the Baptist is a school, the Presbyterian is the school, Methodist is a school. So Islam had many schools. And each school considered themselves the righteous one, and the others are fake. So they have to raise their own small army, and with time and with God's help, they will wipe all the others and will be the real ruling school. So I belong to one of them.
So you're actually fighting other Muslim groups in Lebanon, okay.
Although politically you are trained and equipped to go through the holy war against the Jews. So in your beginning of training, you are trained even psychologically to hate and kill Jews, and hate, if needed be, killed Christians, and of course Americans. So that was the uprising of my first training when I first joined those fragments. And it was okay for the family. Actually, they were very happy in a way, because in Islamic doctrine, only the warrior who dies in the battlefield killing the enemies is the one to reach heaven, and his family is to be feared and respected. So that's how I, in the beginning of my life, joined the militant fragment, and it was also by the blessing of the family.
Now, can you explain a little bit the theology of the martyr? Because from my understanding, for a Muslim to die as a martyr could ensure not only himself going directly to heaven, but 70 members of his family as well. Is that right? Or something like that?
It depends on which school you belong to.
Okay.
As I said. But mainly, yes, the murderer will have the right to intervene for quite a number of his family, so they will walk into heaven. But he is the only one, very only one, is assured to be in heaven. The minute he dies, they don't wash him. They don't wash him, the blood of him, because that's one of the rituals. He has to meet God with the blood stained on him, that he offered his blood to God. And
it's very different from Christianity and Jesus being the blood sacrifice.
Right.
In Islam, you have your own blood.
And in Christianity, God sacrificed for you. In Islam, you sacrifice for God.
Wow.
Big difference.
Wild. So how does an average Muslim who doesn't die as a martyr get to heaven?
Once in Michigan, I was debating with an imam, big imam, and he's in his 80s.
Okay.
Publicly. And out of sudden I says to him, remember that he is an imam. I said, sir, you are 80 years almost, 80 and something. You've in our Christianity, we've said that you've raced the race. You completed the race. You spend at least 40 years of your life, at least, leading nations of Islam. You prayed 5 times a day. You've been to pilgrimage. You've paid your alms. You've done everything which is even better than a regular Muslim in the street. Now, if you died right now with a heart attack while you're talking to me, now, where will you go, heaven or hell? He looked at me and he said, I don't know.
Wow.
He doesn't know.
That's
Nobody
incredible.
knows.
So there's no assurance of salvation for a Muslim, an average Muslim, unlike a Christian. You know, Jesus said if you put your trust in him, you'll be saved. You know, you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you shall be saved. You have an assurance of salvation.
Yes, well, actually, you see, Christians, real believers, they die on the assurance that when they wake up, they're going to be in heaven with Christ forever.
Right. To be absent from the body is to be present
Exactly,
with the Lord, right?
exactly. But unfortunately, in Islam, unfortunately, even if you reach heaven, even as a martyr, there is no assurance that you're going to stay there forever.
Really?
Yeah, because there's verses in the Quran where it says that you are there till God wishes.
So he could easily just kick you out.
Exactly. One day, God will be one day and wake up and say, oh, I don't want him to be in hell forever. Let's move him to heaven. Or, I don't want him to be in heaven forever. Let's move him to hell.
So it sounds like the religion of Islam is fraught with uncertainty.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why Muslims are not at all certain where they'll end up the rest of eternity.
Wow.
And that's what makes them a little bit of unsure.
Sure.
Here, even on earth.
Okay. All right. Well, take us back to your teenage years. Now, you've joined this militia, this fragment. How did your life go from there?
All right. In a kind of a training in life I lived, you reach on to one of 2 ways only, no third way. Either you became a very lunatic, even out of brain believer, like the people who did the towers, like the Qaeda people who would kill just for the sake of thinking that Allah is pushing their hand, or the religious zeal will evaporate. I mean, with all this killing and training and all of that, and nothing will be left there but a fighting machine. To me, it was the second row. The religious zeal evaporated, and there was nothing but really a fighting machine left in me. And the strangest thing is, with all those teachings and faith and feelings had frozen and disappeared.
Your heart became cold.
Very cold, in a way that life meant nothing whatsoever. And because of the life I lived, I was very much content in accepting that I'll never touch the 18th or 20th of my life. I'll be killed before then. So put these 2 feelings together, that life means nothing and you're not going to live anymore except by killing, then you have nothing to do in life more than just keep fighting. And life meant nothing whatsoever, neither mine, neither the others people's life.
Can you paint us a picture of what a typical day would be like for you, a Muslim militia fighter in the midst of a civil war? I mean, most people can't even comprehend that.
But there's also another thing you'll have to understand. Civil war wasn't continuous civil war like your civil war in the 1800s.
Okay.
It was very funny civil war. I mean, it would erupt for a couple of months and cease for a few weeks that you live a normal life. Or it will erupt for a couple of weeks and cease for a few months, and then you have a normal life. You go to school, you go to your home, you sleep, you work, and out of sudden, you go to the battlefield. That's other than the small secret wars between the areas itself. Who is controlling what? So, a normal life, if it is no fight, then it is normal. I would go sometimes to school, I'll go to a part-time job, I'll maintain family life. But when war breaks out, and if it is a secret small war against the other group or against the others, then you carry your machine gun and you go to the trenches at the edge of your area, defending it or fighting the other group. And then in that minute or in that days, life is right behind you. It's not there anymore. You are either to be killed or to kill. You live only from 1 minute to another, from an hour to another. For instance, it took from me a long time not to eat so much and so fast. Why? Because we never knew when the food is coming, so whenever food comes, we eat a lot. We never knew when the battle will break, so we eat very quickly.
You never know, right?
Right.
What the next minute would bring, right?
Right.
Wow.
So that kind of life also had a very hard effect on my personality. Made me a very stiff person, rocky stiff.
Right.
And the life you would live there is you don't have a very much space to maneuver in it. For instance, if you say something, you better do it. Once you back up on your word, you're dead. It's a sign of weakness. Whatever you say goes, even if you're wrong. It should go.
Okay. So I guess that's what helped garner your reputation, and
Right.
to eventually you became a regiment leader.
Right. I don't believe that there's one time I ever said I'll do something and I didn't do it. No matter if I was right or wrong, I have to do it. And this is, as you said, built not only my reputation, but my strength too.
Right. So, wow. So in a way, there's I guess a warrior code.
Right.
You back up with what you say with action.
And strangely, the other warriors will respect you and follow you when you are like that. I mean, you could have given an order to a man to jump over a cliff and he will do it right away.
Wow. Incredible. So what is this whole, this chart? They said they gave you points on your chart. What is that all about?
All right. It's a tradition in the wartime, and most probably it was a way of uplifting your spirit and your trust in yourself. You'll have to understand in fighting life, you lose your personality, really. There will be a time you'll have they will be scared that you will lose it and have a breakdown or cuckoo crazy, and then you even end up hurting your own self or your own regiment. So I believe they discovered this kind of treatment which will always uplift you and show you that you are a strong, powerful warrior. So every time you come back from the battlefield and 2 or 3 warriors will admit that you dropped someone, they give you a point. And each point means that you are a stronger warrior, better one, he had more enemy skill. This is exactly like in Second World War, when they put in your airplane the shape of an airplane, you dropped it down.
Right.
So pilots who had more planes stabbed onto their plane is more powerful. And this is the same thing used to be in our fragments. Every time 2 or 3 will come from the battle and say, we've seen Zach dropping this guy, then it's a point. And so I ended up, according to my chart, with 223 drops.
Wow. That's amazing.
By that time, I meant nothing, trust me. I mean, life meant nothing whatsoever.
Right. You also, you told me a story about, I guess, a super religious guy who came into your group.
You see, this will give you an idea about our mentality, which where we dropped down to. They brought this very religious person to my regiment, and he started knocking on our doors at 3 o'clock in the morning to wake up us for the first prayers. I catch up with him next day in the kitchen, put my hand around his shoulder. That's very friendly, very, very friendly. And says to him, don't come at 3 o'clock in the morning to wake me up. I don't want to come to the prayers at 3 o'clock in the morning. He looked at me in a very stiff way and says, my duty is to come and wake you up. It's up to you to come to the prayers or not. I looked at him in a very challenging way and said, you knock on my door at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to shoot you. So 3 o'clock in the morning, he comes knocking on my door to wake me up for the prayers. I pull up my pistol from under my pillow, look at the door, measure where is his chest, and shoot him through the door, and then go back to sleep.
Wow. And in this, I mean, were you in a barracks or you in a house?
Yes.
In a military
we were
barracks?
kind of like a headquarters, if you want to put it this way, where all my men is there. You'll have to remember, by that time, they needed a guy like me who would lead troops in the battlefield. So anything I do, it's okay.
Nobody said anything about it?
Plus there is no laws, nothing at all. The powerful and the stronger is the law.
Wow. So you really ruled by...
They didn't even talk about it. I could hear them while I'm going back to sleep, carrying him away. The next morning was a normal day in the base. Nothing at all. Nothing happened.
I can't even imagine that. So this is the kind of life you led.
Right.
Wow.
This is kind of life where I had grown up as a kid.
But now going forward, you had an interesting divine encounter with a man you met on the streets of Beirut. Tell us about that day and the man you met.
Right. That time, 1975, were a time when now the Civil War really broke out. As I said, the real Civil War started early in the 70s, was hush-hush. We broke out slowly here or fights there. For instance, in the area where I lived, in the Bay Area, I'll give you an example so you'll understand the next of the story. We had only one police station, close at its doors at 5 o'clock.
P.M.?
P.m.
After that, there was no law?
PM, we are the rulers of the streets.
Wow.
And then out of sudden, you'll have like trenches between us and the second area called Shayer. So they don't come in, we don't go out. And if anybody dares, then it's a battle. So a police station will close at 5 o'clock, really. The doors, that's it. No more laws, no more nothing. And
God forbid you had an emergency after 5 o'clock.
It's true. I mean, only strong, brave men will walk at night in that streets. Only strong, brave men. So by that time, this civil war had ceased. I mean, it was okay. Cars, taxis, buses, people going to work, markets, everything is normal. So the regiment, the fighting regiment, was not there. There was no need for it. It could stay for weeks, even just like that.
Okay.
That one day, I really was bored. Real bored. There was no school, no part-time job, which I used to love it a lot. Nothing, no fights. So I decided to go to a movie theater. There, either we'll get into a good fight, I'll pick up someone and fight with him, or I'll see a good thrilling film. So I go to this theater, and 300 seats. And the film was dull, and there was only one old man. No one to fight.
Not worth picking a fight with him, I guess.
Exactly. So I decided to leave.
Okay.
I walk out the door. Instead of turning left to go to the bus to go to my area, I turned right. No reason why, really, just like that.
Okay.
And at the corner of the street, I see a gathering. And I said, yay, that's a fight. So I dashed there. Only a few feet away, here's this tall American standing, talking to someone, and the others are listening to him. And I said, an American. You see, as I said before, I was equipped, trained to fight and kill Jews and hate Christians and Americans.
Okay.
So I turned to walk away when this American, he was a missionary from Southern Baptist Church.
Okay.
He said in a Jordanian accent, which I know it very well, he said, Jesus Christ will give you hope, will give you new life, will give you salvation. And I stood like a nail. He used the word Yeshua in Arabic for Jesus. And I've never heard it before. And I know Christians exist. You see, in 1975, the Civil War broke really against the Christians. After we were fighting each other all the time, now we are united to fight the Maronites, the Catholic Christians, really. So I know Christians exist, but who is this Yeshua? I've never heard about him. Is there any new life, salvation, hope? Let's ask this guy. Most probably he knows what he's talking about.
Right. And we're going to take a quick break. I want to stop you right there because we're going to come back and find out what you learned from this American missionary and how God changed your life. Again, we're speaking with Zachariah Anani. He is an ex-Muslim militia fighter, and he's now a born-again Christian and an evangelist. We'll be right back with more of his riveting testimony on divine intervention.
We'll be right back with more from Daniel Fazina and Divine Intervention right after this.
I believe in miracles.
Times are tough, not getting easier, but there's an opportunity that could make a significant change in your financial situation. People are paying too much for home utilities, and everybody has them. Help friends and family save money and get paid for it. No obligation. You don't even have to talk to anyone unless you want to. Just listen to a 3-minute recorded message. Call now, 203-717-3124. 203-717-3124. Listen, decide, and you could be on your way to a better tomorrow. 203-717-3124.
Hey, this is Daniel Fazina of Divine Intervention Radio. The Bible contains some incredible stories of miracles and divine interventions. Jesus calmed a raging storm, healed paralytics, and even raised the dead. But are these types of events still happening today? The answer to this question, as you will see from reading my book, Divine Intervention, 50 True Stories of God's Miracles Today, is an emphatic yes. Contained within the book is a collection of amazing true stories that attest to this fact. You will read the astonishing first-hand accounts of people who have been healed of paralysis, terminal cancer, and tumors through prayer. You will see the love of God powerfully transform the life of an Islamic terrorist. You will witness the liberation of the demon-possessed, the resurrection of the dead, and much more. Prepare to be awed and inspired as you experience divine intervention. More information about Divine Intervention, 50 True Stories of God's Miracles Today can be found at www.divineinterventionradio.com or by calling 800-247-4784. That's 1-800-247-4784.
Here comes Jesus Christ. The man would never know. He's got Bartimaeus' eyes.
Hi, this is Jay Jack, the lead singer for Apologetics, that Christian parody band, and you're listening to Divine Intervention Radio with our good friend Daniel Fazina.
Sure, he soon will, though. He's got Bartimaeus' eyes. He says, Jesus.
Welcome back to Divine Intervention. This is the interview show that features intriguing people who've experienced the hand of God in amazing ways. Once again, I'm your host, Daniel Fazina. We've been speaking with a very intriguing and interesting gentleman. I have with me Mr. Zach Anani, who is a former Muslim militia fighter who fought in the civil war in Lebanon. Before the break, he was telling us his riveting testimony about how he grew up as a militia fighter, and he met a Christian missionary on the streets of Lebanon. Now, Zach, welcome back.
Thank you.
So take us back to that point. You see an American missionary, a Southern Baptist, on the streets of Lebanon. He's speaking Arabic with a Jordanian accent. What's he saying?
Out of sudden, he said the verse, well, I was turning away. I mean, in the beginning, I wasn't listening to what he was saying. Just the idea that he's an American standing there talking really is outrageous. He's lucky I didn't pull up my knife and hit him with it. So I turned around and turned away to walk away. And only then I heard the sentence he said. They said that Jesus Christ will give you new hope, will give you new life, he'll give you salvation. And what really intrigued me, he used the word Yeshua for Jesus in Arabic, which I've never heard it before. As I said, that I knew Christians exist. I was leading my men in the civil war against them. But who's this Yeshua? I've never heard of him. I mean, is there new life, hope, and salvation? Let's ask this guy. Most probably he knows what he's talking about. So I stood there. I have no idea why. I stood there and till he's finished talking. I wasn't even listening to all what he was saying. And all those people around him left, and he was about to leave. Then I raised my voice and said, "Do you believe in what you are saying?" And he said, "Yeah, otherwise I won't be saying it." I said, "Okay, go ahead, explain it to me." So the guy with his Jordanian accent, which was also a little bit broken accent, he started explaining to me what he was talking about, Christ and all of that. And after a sudden I said, hold it. I don't believe in what you're saying. I don't believe that your God, your Christ exists, not in my life at least. By that time, I was almost 17 years old. My ways in life are just, straight, and I know what I want and what I don't want. And as I said, I was just living for the sake of just living. I'm not dead. So the guy started explaining, and as I said, hold it, I can prove to you that Christ, your God, does not exist, not in my life at least. He said, go ahead. I picked up an event. I had to go through it while I was fighting a few months before I meet this guy.
Okay.
I was coming back from a battlefield with other two warriors, one girl and one boy. And we were ambushed. In an ambush, everybody runs for his life. When I was behind the rocks, the girl was next to me, the boy was not there. I looked above the rocks to see how many are attacking us. And where's the boy? I need him right there and then. He was right there in the middle of the way, injured but still alive. The girl decided to help him. I refused. She looked at me in a very strange way, picked up, I'll never forget it, picked up her machine gun, jumped above the rocks, walked towards the injured guy while she's shouting and shooting towards the others, reaching him, grabbing him by the shoulder, start pulling back while she's shooting and shouting at the same time. And I felt that, I'll be less than an animal. I should help. So I would jump, same thing, walk, shoot, shout, reach, grab, pull, shoot, shout, till we almost a couple of feet away from the rock. And the girl tumbled over me. I grabbed her in a militant way with the other guy and threw them behind the rocks. The guy was already dead by then. And the girl, her eyes were flipping so quick, and her mouth was wide open, and I could see a line of blood going from underneath her military jacket. So I opened it, and there was a wound in the size of my fist on her left side. As calm as I was, I picked up my pistol and shot her down. Then I flipped. I picked up her machine gun and mine and jumped against the others, shooting and shouting. I mean, it was dead end. I was like crazy nitwit. What happened was, against all kind of military training, they were sitting next to landmines. So one of my bullets hit a landmine, killed a lot of them, gave me a couple of shrapnels on the forehead. And then, unconscious, people passing by found me and carried me to the hospital. I walked up at the hospital later on. I asked the guy, the missionary, I said, if your God, if your Christ was existing and just, why the girl had to die? I mean, it was me who refused to help.
Right.
The guy looked at me and asked me the question which shocked me. He said to me, why didn't you die? Why the only one to come back alive? And he shocked me. I mean, within seconds, I remembered all the times during my fighting life, within 4 years by then, I was the only one to come back alive many times. Bashed, injured, but alive. And I didn't want to talk to this man anymore. He really bothered me. I turned and walked away with no bye, nothing at all. And that's an insult in the Middle East. But he was a real soul winner. He dashed behind me, pushed his cart above my shoulder and says, call me whenever you want. I picked up automatically, I mean, no feelings even. His car, put it in my jacket pocket and walked away. That night, the giant in me refused to sleep. I sat down at the edge of my bed, my head between my hands, and his words ding, dong, on my brain. I just couldn't sleep. Next day, I go to a part-time job, which I used to love it a lot. It used to allow me to read. Printing house.
Okay.
I was standing in front of an old machine which has a sound like a tank. Chuk-tak, poof, poof, chuk-tak, poof. And the machine jammed and stopped. And I'm looking at it, and I'm hearing and seeing nothing. With all those words, gathering in my brain. The foreman came and hit me in my shoulder to wake me up. And I got mad. I beat up him first, and then I go home, pick up my pistol, and came back.
Oh my goodness.
I jumped the first set of steps, and I was about to jump the second set of steps before I walk into the printing house, and I stood right in the middle of there. And said, okay, Zach, what you're going to do is going to shoot this man. He's going to fall down. His blood will cover the ground. you've seen enough blood in your life. Why don't you go out, call this guy, his phone is in your pocket, his phone number, and calm down. And I did. Strangely, I did.
You called the missionary?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went and called him. And the first thing I said was, listen, I got a pistol, and I could kill someone if you don't talk. And the guy jumped in talking right away.
What did he say?
He was talking about Christ and all of that. And when he reached to the point when he said that Christ had died for me, I burst in tears. Now you'll have to understand, that was the ultimate shame. For 4 years of my fighting life, I've never cried, not even once. Whenever I am so in pain, if it is physical or non-physical, I used to bite on my lips, leaving big marks, even bleeding them, not crying.
Wow.
In that minute, for no reason, I burst in tears, real tears.
God was reaching you.
So the guy says, put your pistol aside and come to me, and he directed me where to go. I went put my pistol with someone I know, and I went straight to his house. There he was waiting for me with another Lebanese Christian. We sat down, we talked, and out of sudden the Lebanese believer, he offered me a Bible.
Okay.
And he says, will you please bless us with a reading? I opened the book, and the first verse I read was, come to me, all ye tired, and I'll give you rest.
That's out of the book of Matthew, right?
Right. I went on my knees with tears, really crying. And I said, God, Christ, I don't know you. First time I heard about you, first time someone tell me about you. I'm a very bad boy. I've cheated, I've lied, I've stolen, I've committed adultery, I even killed the human beings. Everything you can put it under the line sin, I can tell you that I've been there. And I don't think I'll ever be a good boy again in my life. But I promise you only one thing, that I'll try. You change me, I surrender my heart and my soul to you.
Wow.
And I walk out, and picked up my pistol, and go and walk beside my only best friend for years, the seashore. The Lebanese western borders, all of it is Mediterranean.
Right.
We have the longest shores ever. Whenever it used to be dim dark, and it is really depressing, and it is really sadful, and I could kill easy then, I would go to the seashore, walk there, or sit there, talk to the waves, and listen to the waves for hours. So that day I did that. I went and walked on the seashore, thinking of what has happened so quickly, so dramatically, that less than 24 hours. And I prayed, I became a Christian. That's terrible.
Did you know what that meant in the context?
Yeah, well, I'm just, I'm digesting what's happening.
Right.
And out of sudden, my hand is heavy. I turn, and I see I'm still carrying my pistol. One look at it, and I knew it was a window or a door to evil, which I don't want it anymore. And I threw it to the sea.
Wow.
From that minute on, I'm a free man.
Praise God. Wow. The power of the Holy Spirit,
Amen for
the
that.
Word of God. I thank God for that faithful missionary who was there at the right time,
Yes,
to meet you.
praise
And
God for that.
At that time you were, as you had said, you had no meaning in life. You had no reason for living.
I was 2 months to be 17 years old.
Okay. And you had already seen so much more than anyone would see in their entire lifetime at 16.
I was so burdened that, trust me, I would have felt that I'm an old ancient warrior who's almost 100 years old.
Wow. Incredible. So you're walking by the seashore. You threw away your gun. I mean, what happens from there? A militia leader lays down his arms. What happens?
Now, the change started happening so quickly. Maybe God had chosen this way for me to be prepared for what I am now. It didn't walk slowly like others and slow rhythm and all of that. It became like a thriller movie, really, so quickly and so dramatically, many movements. And actually, strangely, I had a little bit the hand of doing it. For instance, maybe because I came from a very tough background where blood and broken bones, open flesh, and even death means really nothing of that significant to me. Maybe because God had blessed me with a real powerful body, real killing machine, that I thought that I'm indestructible.
Okay.
Maybe also because the life I've lived created in me a guy who does not get scared. Even up till now, my best friends call me nickname Heartless. It doesn't mean that I don't feel. It means nothing would scare me easy at all. Maybe because of all of that together, I was brave enough to tell my parents second day right away that I became a Christian.
Wow. Now, in a traditional Islamic family, I mean, this is a big deal, right?
That's as if you said someone, a Martian had landed on your roof, on your house.
How did they take it?
It was so shocky way, and it seems I said it in a very convincing way, that my father took the small blue New Testament out of my hand, shredded it, and slapped me 2-3 times and stepped backwards thinking I'm going to jump him. I looked at him as so easy and says, you slap me or you destroy my Bible, it doesn't make a difference. I'm a Christian.
Wow.
So really this was the beginning point of the longest time of a battle started by then. Actually, the one who got spooked was my mom more than my dad. The one who spread my news so quickly was my mom. She went out to the streets, knocking at each door of each house in each building in each individual home, saying one sentence only: be careful for your sons, from my son he became a Christian. So the rumors about me spread out so quickly because of my mom.
Right. Now here you are, you're living in a Muslim area. You're a regiment leader of a Muslim battalion, let's say.
Yeah.
I mean, how did people react to this?
In the beginning, they didn't believe it.
Okay.
I mean, who would believe that a guy like me would walking killer and tough and fighting Christians and all of that would become a Christian? I mean, even me, if you come to me and said that to me that day, I would say, you're a crazy cuckoo. So it took from a while for them to suck it in.
Okay.
And then it was true. I mean, everybody who met me, I would never deny it. I became a Christian. So, but yet, persecution didn't come right away because A, they didn't believe it very well, and B, when it really sank very well that Zach became a Christian, who wants to tangle with a guy like me? I didn't lose my reputation. I mean, I could kill someone so easy, so quickly. Right. It's unbelievable. Actually, to make it very funny, when it really sucked in and then the decision came out that I should be killed, they couldn't find even one warrior in my whole area to come and to attack me. No way. They had to get 3 warriors from another area who didn't know me very well to attack me.
Now I want to ask you, you became a Christian and then there was a price put on your head. But, you know, I've heard people say, oh, Islam is a religion of peace. I mean, don't Muslims believe in the freedom of choice to worship who they want? Explain that to me.
Let me tell you how things started, then I'll explain the idea.
Okay.
A documentary. One day I come back home. That's only a few weeks up after I became Christian and a few incidents which proved that I'm a Christian. My mom says to me, they want you in the mosque. The mosque is where the Muslims pray, which was only about 300 meters, about 900 feet away from my house.
Okay.
I said, I don't care. In the evening, about 13 of them came into the house. We want you in the mosque. I said, fine. I go to the mosque. As soon as I walk in, I knew that I'm on trial. 2 guys stood, one to my right, one to my left, 3 imams in front of me and all those multitudes behind them. And the imam first question asked, son, have you strayed? Remember, I didn't know really anything about Christianity by then, and whatever I know in Islam basically has disappeared. And I said, what do you mean by strayed? He said, that means you left the religion of your fathers and the fathers of your fathers. And I said, oh, if you mean I became a Christian, yes, I became a Christian. And everybody really...
This is just like Jesus on trial before the Sanhedrin. Oh, my goodness.
So the guy went on, and your language would be like drilling me.
Okay.
And if you were there by that time, you would have said about him, he is the most cleverest person in the world, and about me, the most stupid person in the world. I mean, he could take me up, down, left, right, 10 circles around me. And every time he would, quote unquote, win an argument All those Muslims behind him would shout all those Islamic shouts. Till 1 minute, I felt my head is on the size of the room. So I shouted. Everybody kept quiet. I looked at very stiff way at this imam and said, look, maybe what you are saying is right. Maybe what I'm saying is wrong. Maybe what you are thinking is right. And maybe what I'm thinking is wrong. Maybe even what you are believing is right. And maybe what I'm believing is wrong. But there is something planted in my heart. Not you, not 10 people like you, not any force in the whole universe can shift me a little bit. Do whatever you want.
Wow.
So the guy looked at me in a very staged way and started saying, do you believe so-and-so? Do you believe so-and-so? Do you believe so-and-so? And I would say, is it written in the Bible? He would say, no. I said, sorry, I can't believe in it. Finally, he excommunicated me. In Islam, that means A, if I'm married or to be married, a divorce paper will be issued right away. Civically, I don't exist anymore. No documents, no papers, nothing at all. Third, my Muslim family will inherit me even if I'm still alive. 4, if I don't become a Muslim within 3 days, I'll be killed.
Your family will disinherit you?
Yeah.
I mean, cut you off.
Right.
Okay.
So
wow.
I said, who cares? I
now,
don't care.
In spite of all this trouble and all this trial that came to you, I mean, why would you do that? Why would you give up all of that for this?
You see, you remind me of an Yemeni sheikh. He asked me once, he said, in front of public people, he said, why do you cling to a religion gave you nothing but troubles?
Good question.
And I said, you're right, sheikh, old man. When I became a Christian, I lost my dignity, my honor, my family, my home, my education, everything. And so many times attempt on my life, so many troubles, even from Christians sometimes, that is unbelievable. But before I became a Christian, I was already in trouble, but I had no hope. Now I do have hope. For us converts, if a real convert, real believer, not just, blah, 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 wild horses won't drag us back to what we were before. I mean, if you are walking and you felt in a sewage pit, would you stay there?
No.
You go up and clean, you'll go back there? This is the same thing.
So God really reached into your heart and changed you.
Amen for that. Amen for that.
And that's what I want to convey to people listening, that when you find Jesus, it's not a religion. He changes you.
Exactly.
It's a relationship.
See, that's what I keep telling people. Christianity is not religion. Christianity is life and faith.
Right.
Big difference.
Right. Jesus said, my words are life, and his faith in him, he is what gives us life. He's the source of life. Before that, when we walk around not knowing Christ, we're dead in our sins. And it's only the Spirit of God that can quicken us and make us alive. And you obviously experienced that.
So the turning point in my life to be later on a grown-up Christian and established Christian started from that day of trial. Because when I walked out, I had the worst beating in my life. And I went unconscious. They had to carry me back home.
The people in the mosque beat you that day? Oh, wow.
But when I woke up came this question, why? Why it is in Christ, not in Muhammad? Why it is in the Bible, not in the Quran? Why it is in Christianity, not in Islam? So I went and bought myself a Quran. Remember, I come from a clergy family. We had all kinds of Qurans in our home. But that day, I wanted a book which no one touched except me. And I'm reading it, trying to find God. And trust me, brother, if I had found God in that book that day, I would have went back a Muslim. Changed my life reading that book.
So you read the Quran before you read the Bible?
Right.
Okay. Now, before you mentioned that when the missionary said Yeshua, or how do you say it?
Yeshua.
Yeshua? You'd never heard that word before, but doesn't the Quran speak of Jesus?
Isa. He used the word Isa.
It's a different word.
Yeah, it's an Arabic word.
Does it mean, are the two words different?
Yes.
Okay. What's the difference between the two?
Okay, Yeshua is actually an Arabic translation for the Hebrew word Yeshua.
Okay.
And that means alive or giving life.
Ah, the source of life. Interesting.
Yeah. And Isa means nothing.
It's just a name?
It's just a name. And also in Arabic names has meaning, except that word also had no meaning.
Interesting.
Very. Isa has no meaning at all. But remember, the Quran is highly Arabic, very highly Arabic. Statistics say that every 50 to 60,000 Arab, only one person can read the Quran and tell you what does it say. And because it quoted the story of Christ from the Bible, and because of the specificity of the language, it's so easy to prove that Christ is God from the Quran better than the Bible.
And you do that when you debate with imams.
And that's what really pulled my attention to Christ more than the Bible itself.
Wow. Zach, we've got about 5 more minutes, but I just wanted to read this, or at least part of it, out loud. We have here a medical report that you furnished to us from a doctor, and this is from 1996.
Yeah, you see, within 20 years, there were 18 attempts on my life.
18 attempts, okay. And some from your own family even.
Right.
Okay. It says here, this medical report, this 33-year-old Lebanese man has suffered multiple injuries from religious and political persecution in Lebanon. Below are the findings of an examination performed in my office on 10/25/96. This man's injuries date from 1974 and were listed as follows. Knife wound upper lip under nose, bound and thrown into large pointed stick which penetrated into the rectum, blunt injury to left knee requiring surgical removal of meniscus cartilage, knife wound to left eyebrow and blunt injury to left temple, blunt injury to top of head, gunshot wound to abdomen requiring abdominal surgery and removal of portions of intestines, knife wound to back of neck and left elbow, penetrating injury to left ankle and resulting fracture. And it goes on to list all your scars. This is by a doctor in Virginia Beach. You have really walked the walk, and you've suffered for being a Christian. You know, Christ says to take up our cross, and that cross is suffering. And you've really lived that. What would you want to say to someone right now who may be listening, who maybe is from a Muslim background?
Okay, I would say to the Christians who think that it's amazing, those wounds and all of that. To me, it's normal. You see, unfortunately, pampered Christians here forgets very important basic rule in Christianity, that it has a price tag.
Right.
And if you're not willing to pay that price, then it will be either very tight or very sloppy dress on you. Christianity has a price. And for Muslims, as I said to that imam who debated me publicly and he couldn't answer where he's going, I will tell him this price is a very small little price for at least knowing where you're heading to. Because one day you'll stand in front of the Lord and then you'll find that you have lost everything. So, in the name of Christ, I call you to the real light, and don't hesitate. And no matter what, the price is too little.
The price is too little. God in Christ gave us, he paid the ultimate price in sending his son to die for us. Right. And, you know, here in America, we've been born with the blessing of freedom. So many times we take it for granted, and we have to realize that our brothers and sisters on the other side of the world, particularly in Muslim countries and in communist countries, they pay a price for their faith. Right. And for all they go through, it better be real. You know? Yes. And it is real.
To me, all those wounds here on earth, it's only a small price for the freedom within myself, the peace I have. And in heaven, it is a great reward. Very great reward.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. Our guest has been Zach Anani. I am Daniel Fazina, and we are out of time, but thanks for tuning in. I hope this episode has encouraged you to know that God is real and he loves you. Take care and God bless.
You've been listening to Divine Intervention with your host, Daniel Fazina. You can email Daniel at divineintervention@mail.com. That's divineintervention@mail.com. All programs of Divine Intervention are available online at divineinterventionradio.com. That's divineinterventionradio.com. Join us next time here on Divine Intervention.